Right now on 11 at 11, the devastating loss for downtown Louisville.
It is absolutely nauseating.
Historic Whiskey Row now up in flames.
Our fire might destroy this structure, but it's not going to destroy the history of our city.
This massive fire hitting the heart of downtown Louisville's revitalization efforts hard. Right now on 11 at 11.
On your side, this is WHAS 11 News.
And that thick smoke covered parts of downtown Louisville this afternoon. Still tonight at this very hour, nearly 7 hours since that fire began, firefighters remain on the scene, knocking down hot spots of the Whiskey Row fire. We have live in-depth team coverage for you with the history of Whiskey Row, reaction from the mayor to all this devastating news, to the investigation and what we know so far. WHAS 11 has all the angles covered for you tonight. We begin with our Doug Prophet. He is live at the scene, still very active out there, Doug.
Well, Renee, you know, if you love this town, you love its history. This is certainly hard to take, especially for what was planned for the future here. But we are near at the 7-hour mark, and there is some news we can tell you. The good news, the majority of the fire is out. It was under control at 7:20 this evening. Take a look at the scene right now. Hot spots continue to flare up. We are zooming in on the 3rd floor where the fire department is pouring in water. You might see flashing right above it in the 4th floor. Those are the hot spots I'm talking about. And occasionally the water streams will go away. They think they've got it really out, and then the hot spots flare back up. Just to show you the intensity of the flames, and no wonder you're talking 100-year-old buildings that were warehouses for bourbon barrels at one time. All wood, all brick. Well, we learned a lot of new information about the fire tonight. It's firefighting. The fire chief said at one point there was an explosion when they entered in the basement area back behind that building. WHAS 11's Kayla Moody is live over on 1st in Main where the firefighting effort continues, and she has more on what the mayor and the fire department said a few moments ago. Kayla?
Well, the fire department believes this fire may have started in the basement of this structure. When they first arrived on scene, they say fire was rushing through the basement and the 1st level. Now, that operation quickly turned into a defensive operation, but tonight they can report that the fire is finally mostly out. Flames shoot through the rooftop of Whiskey Row. Firefighters work for 3 hours before the fire is under control.
The size of the fire has gone down. We've been able to make progress. However, along the way, we've experienced a couple of collapses. Some floors collapsed, and some of the walls on the outer edge and also on the rear have collapsed.
Flooring and walls collapsed, but miraculously, the building's facade stood tall through the fire.
There's a lot of steel that goes deep, that goes back, a series of braces, steel braces that go back. And so I will say this, you know, the people that did that bracing of those facades did an excellent job.
The steel braces are a recent addition, the work of developers renovating the property. That work will now be harder, but because of the effort they've already put in and the firefighters' careful attention to the historic structure, the building is not a total loss.
Well, Whiskey Row, in my mind, is one of the great blocks in all of America. And it has been, and it will be. Okay, so what this is going to do is this is going to make the story of Whiskey Row even more fabulous once we get past this. I know it's hard to see that right now.
The Whiskey Row fire was a dangerous situation for the 75-plus firefighters working to put it out and the dozens of people in surrounding businesses. But amazingly, no one was hurt.
We're really excited about the fact that, number one, no one was injured in this incident, and that we were able to save the property and keep the adjacent properties safe.
Most important thing here is nobody's lost their life. Tremendously lucky on that. This could have been far worse from that, so we're thankful for that.
And fire crews continue to work to put out hot spots. That's what they're doing right now, and what you're seeing with that water rushing in through those windows. We're told that crews will be on fire watch throughout the night. They will remain on scene at least until tomorrow morning. We're told that we will have a briefing at 9 a.m. At that point, fire crews are going to kind of assess the situation again and see where they are. From then, they'll decide their next move. Back to you, Doug.
Kayla, thank you so much. And right near where Kayla is standing, the largest employer on this part of Main Street right now is Humana in the Waterside building, an historic old Belknap warehouse itself. Those employees were not told to evacuate. They sheltered in place. And a few moments ago, we talked to Humana employee Brandy Burden about what it was like when the fire started burning and was first noticed.
They were like, yes, the building next door is on fire. And I was like, are you serious? I'm like, is that what I've been smelling the last couple hours now? And so, yeah, I didn't realize that the building next door was actually on fire.
Again, take a look at this amazing scene just right over my shoulder. Again, you are directly looking at Main Street, the frontage of those buildings that housed old whiskey companies at one time. Take a look at how the firefighters are handling this right now. To the left, right where the green fire ladder, it's illuminated green, heavy water going in. And now to the right, they're bringing in heavy water from the side. They're handling this hot spot both from the left and the right, pouring thousands of gallons of water on it. Here still at 11 o'clock. Again, this fire first spotted at 4:35 this evening. Well, there are people who live down in this area, and WHAS 11's Tabney Dozier caught up with someone who needed their dog rescued at the height of all this. She's telling that story tonight live. Tabney?
Well, that's right, Doug. This has been our vantage point all night. Myself, photographer Nathan Davis, we've been in charge of First and Washington. Take a look. Piece by piece, we have literally watched this wall crumble down. But I tell you what, we have found a bright spot to this unfortunate and dark day. We followed Amy Candle's journey to be reunited with her puppy Emma, who was locked in her kennel on the 4th floor of her Whiskey Row apartment. The moment Amy Candle and her puppy pit bull Emma are reunited is a moment no flames could burn.
I just felt so bad that even though the fire was contained, I couldn't get her. And I knew she was scared in her kennel.
But let's backtrack. This story has legs just like this precious pooch. We met Candle on the opposite side of Monday's massive Whiskey Row loft fire. We were set up on 1st and Washington Streets. There she stood, a worried mother trying to get through the red tape.
I got up and said, hey, is this building on fire? So I was scared and said, Emma's there. So I just tried to beat the traffic as fast as I could to get here. I was on the other side, so all I saw was just black smoke. You know, I didn't know that it was clear on this side, so I was begging all the cops to just let the firefighters know that she was in there.
But a persistent woman who refused to leave the scene decided standing was not enough. So she walked and walked and walked until this 4-month-old was back in her mother's arms.
You know, you can't tell the firemen to, hey, stop, my pet's more important than, you know, they gotta do their job and do the fire first and contain that, because you don't want anyone else to get hurt, but it was just awful.
More than 80 firefighters, thousands of tons of water, and multiple trucks battled this blaze. But for Candle, she tells me everything inside her whiskey loft apartment is replaceable. But this, a mother's love knows no limits. And you can still see right now on Washington Street 2 hoses active at this hour. I think there are a couple more trucks back there, but you can still see 2 hoses spraying, checking for hot spots right now. Now you hear us say, viewers, team coverage, and that's to the point where we cover multiple angles, but to the point where I can't even see some of my coworkers. I have to give a big thank you to political editor Joe Arnold. Joe knows everyone in this market. I said, Joe, I'm with this woman. She's desperately trying to find her dog. What should we do? And he was the one who helped me get in contact with the firefighters. I definitely cannot take all the credit. A big thank you to shine a little bit of light on this very sad day. Firefighters, of course, have evacuated this building for all businesses and tenants until further notice. Emma and Amy, they're doing just fine tonight, staying with family and friends, and they'll be waiting to get back in once they are allowed. Our coverage continues. I'll send it back to you, Doug.
Tabney, I love your story, and for this reason, it really shows what's at stake down in this area. People are living down here. They have their pets. They take them for walks. It's like what you hear about in the suburbs is actually happening in downtown Louisville, all around this Whiskey Row area. That was the next hot spot. We're going to talk about a little later of what exactly that project was going to be. Well, a few moments ago, right before 11 o'clock, I noticed a man pulling the lot right next to us, started taking pictures. His name's Michael Sellers from Los Angeles, and he told me, I'm visiting this area, driving through. We don't have 100-year-old buildings in Los Angeles like this. I had to see what happened.
right now what runs through my mind is seeing how much people care about it, how much the city really cares about keeping the history to the city and not letting it just let it take it, let it crumble, let it fall in on itself and save the buildings around it instead. You know, it's nice to see that they're working really hard to make sure that everything stays as best as it can.
Again, he was so impressed that people really care. There's a large crowd out here now still of sightseers. Coming up in just a couple of minutes here live at 11, we're going to be talking to Craig Greenberg. He's part of the group that owns those buildings that have been on fire today. He's been down here examining it. We'll get the latest from him in just a moment. But first, Renee, right back to you.
All right, great coverage from our crews out there. Lots of great stories, good information coming out there from Whiskey Row this evening. Well, our viewers have been posting lots of comments and plenty of pictures, and we do want to show you some of the things that you've been posting on social media through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to step out here so you can see some of the pictures here. This is one picture that was from our reporter, Kayla Moody, from earlier today. This was in an area that was sort of known as the collapse zone earlier today. We saw what happened as the day went on with that fire. I want to continue to show you some more pictures here. This photo was sent to us. This is from what it looks like. This is Matthew who sent us this picture, showing a picture that his friend sent him of that Whiskey Row fire. More pictures here for you tonight. You can see now underneath that rubble there, those are cars that are under there. Some of the bricks fell from that wall right there. This posted Amanda Lambert saying that the bricks fell there. She had that picture. And then this is from the other side. This is from the back side. A 6-story high-rise flames now at Whiskey Row fire in downtown Louisville. That was posted by Chris Watson. So we do thank you for all the pictures that you've shown us this afternoon and throughout the day. Again, more pictures coming in from Ashley here. You can see what it was like at the height of that storm, of that fire. And throughout the day here, we are going to continue throughout the night updating you up to the minute information. You can count on WHAS 11 to stay on top of this fire. We'll have you updated on Good Morning Kentucky again, and we start that at 4:30. And then you can stay with us throughout the night again on WHAS11.com, and you can follow us on social media as well. And we do have more breaking news for you this evening, this time from the Ohio River. Crews believe they've pulled the body of one of the 3 missing boaters in the Ohio River. They made that discovery just after 8 o'clock this evening. A recovery mission will continue tomorrow to find the bodies of 2 people presumed drowned after a pontoon boat carrying 9 people crashed over the weekend. A 12-year-old boy who was on that boat says that they were idling and too close to a barge, turned on to the engine to try and steer away from it, but it was too late. 5 of the 9 people aboard ended up in the water. 2 were killed. 4 others were injured. Now the search is on now for the final 2 remaining people.
And I'm Doug Profit again, live on the scene here where the fire is still being extinguished. As you take a look, they've got water going in now to the 4th floor, into the 3rd floor. Coming up right after this, we'll talk to Craig Greenberg. His group saved these buildings from demolition, and it's the work they may have been doing the last few years to shore them up that could save those facades. Find out what we're learning late tonight right after this.
Still very warm out there, 80 degrees and dry here in the metro. By tomorrow morning, we're back in the 70s. A chance of some rain off and on for your Tuesday, and that rain could start in the morning hours. That complete 7-day forecast. All the details in a few minutes.
Cars crushed, buildings up in flames, the fate of historic Whiskey Row after this devastating fire. The rest of the story continues right now. And we are going live back out to the scene right now. Our Doug Profit is standing by with an important interview. Doug.
Well, Craig Greenberg has been out here since the fire started. His group, Main Street Revitalization, saved these buildings from demolition a few years ago, then started putting money into them to shore them up. As we look at this right now, do you think you'll be able to save the facades, or are they in danger of crumbling?
We are very hopeful that we can save the facades. The firefighters from the Louisville Fire Department have done an excellent job, not just putting out the fire today, but also trying to be as careful as possible to keep these facades intact.
Now, we went in the building with you just a couple of years ago, and we're going to show folks the video of what it looked like inside. All wood, a lot of brick. Is this fire for your project a deal breaker? Are you all going to walk away from the planned project that you had, or are you sticking with it?
Not at all. Our group is committed. We've been in close contact with all of the investors and partners in our group, and we are committed to continuing moving forward with this project. We are very pleased that the facades appear to be saved, and we'll start tomorrow morning with a structural engineer to figure out how to ensure they're saved for the long term again, and get back right at it, developing a plan.
Because your project would go right up next to the old Forester Distillery experience. Those buildings weren't damaged by this too badly. You were going to put a restaurant and some other things in there?
That's correct. The restaurant, offices, and apartments. And again, we hope and plan to still continue to do that. I think what today has shown, the outpouring of support from the community just in the past few hours since this fire happened, the focus of the media on this event really shows how important these historic buildings, this historic district, are to making Louisville uniquely Louisville. And I think it says something about this community, about how important it is, and we're committed to continue the preservation and restoration work.
Now, I saw the fire department has complimented you guys for the steel work, the trusses you put in there. They weren't there 100 years ago, but you all put them in a few years ago to shore them up. Most likely has kept the facades intact. I saw the contractor standing with you at the 8:30 news conference. Do you have any early theories as to what could have happened, Craig? How big of a crew was working here?
Well, it's too early to speculate on the cause of the fire, but I am proud of the work that our extended team has done to immediately, when we got control of the buildings, to preserve the facades, the adjacent buildings, the adjacent facades, and it sounds like from what the fire department has told us that in large part helped save the facades and save everything that has been able to be saved, notwithstanding the force of the water that now has been putting out the fire for hours.
Are you getting any indication that this was anything but just an accident?
It's too early to speculate on what the cause of this fire was, but the Louisville Fire Department has an excellent team that's been investigating this since the second this fire happened. They've stayed in close contact with us, and we're confident we'll find out what caused this fire.
All right, Craig Greenberg, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. As he says, the project moves forward once they can figure out the next move and they get in there. Well, what was this whole special project supposed to be? Our Michaela McDonald is taking an in-depth look at the plans tonight. Michaela?
Well, Doug, the developers are hoping that Whiskey Row will be like a phoenix and rise from these ashes. They had come so far in developing this project, from getting the funding, both public and private, that they needed to save the buildings from demolition, to, we're told, before this fire, they were very, very close to signing their first lease with a restaurant.
Louisville's historic Whiskey Row, saved from the wrecking ball in 2011, in the process of being redeveloped, only to be ravaged by this fire.
Oh, I was really heartsick. I mean, it's a real tragedy because we had really lined up some great stuff.
Whiskey Row co-developer Val Jones says they had come so far in the revitalization of these 5 buildings. She gave WHAS 11 a tour of the progress last year. The developers had sold 2 of the buildings to Brown-Forman just in the past month, and she says they were very close to signing their first lease with an 8,000 square foot restaurant and had other entertainment and office projects in the works.
We were actively talking to a 3rd restaurant from out of state that would have been bringing in dancing and live music. We're actively talking in negotiations with a potential office user. So we have gotten very far into the process.
Jones says while the development team is heartbroken by this setback, they're still dedicated to breathing new life into Whiskey Row.
It will be hard work. We have lost a lot. We've lost a lot of the cool interior features of these buildings. There's no getting around that. But if the fire department can save the facades and can save enough of the walls, the party walls, to make it structurally stable, and if we can come behind them and stabilize them more, then I think we can come back and we can still bring in great restaurants and live music venues and apartments and a lot of life back to Whiskey Row. This is a determined team. We have overcome a lot of obstacles in the past. We sure didn't see this one coming. But I think this team is very deeply committed to historic revitalization of our historic buildings.
And Jones says she is so thankful for the work of the firefighters out here today working to save some of these historic facades. She said usually they are saving lives, but today they're saving history, and it's truly a one-of-a-kind block out here, Whiskey Row. And she says that she's also received a lot of feedback from the community, lots of people calling and texting, even coming up to her here on the scene, saying how important they think these buildings are to the city. And she said that it was very nice to have that kind of community reaction. Michaela McDonald, 11 at 11.
Michaela, thank you. Keep in mind, folks, Main Street is blocked. I mean, it is blocked several blocks in this area. If I were you in the morning, I'd get up and with Good Morning Kentuckiana, first thing I'd be tuning in to see how you're going to get into downtown Louisville in the morning. It's humid, it's hot, there wasn't much wind today, and I know we're talking to meteorologist Jared Heil tonight along with Renee about the conditions, the weather conditions as they were trying to put out this fire today.
Yeah, thankfully that wind was not too bad and blowing the smoke actually toward the river, a less populated area, obviously, than downtown Louisville. But as you're heading out tomorrow morning, there could be a stray shower. Temps back in the lower and middle 70s, and then heading into the lower and middle 80s later in the day with those chances of showers and storms increasing in time. Max HG radar, one downpour off toward the west. Parts of Crawford County seeing some rain close to Carefree, English, and Marengo over the next few minutes. Otherwise, mainly quiet right now in downtown Louisville. That smoke still coming up and off of Whiskey Row there for your live Morgan & Morgan HG camera network view from Kentucky One Health. Still warm, 80 degrees, dew point at 70, a south wind at around 7 miles an hour. Cold front off toward the west. That will bring us rain chances as soon as tomorrow. We'll keep those rain chances going off and on really into the middle of your week. But the best rain chance of the work week is for your Tuesday, a 70% opportunity, lowering to scattered rain chances later into the work week. So have that umbrella with you as you're heading out the door and keep it in the car for the rest of this week. Futurecast for tonight, lows back in the lower and mid 70s. Those rain chances by morning off and on, a 40% chance in the morning hours, 70% chances late in the day as we heat things up into the upper 80s and see scattered showers and storms developing off toward the north and west, moving south and east in time. Lots of clouds right through your Tuesday night into your Wednesday. That will hold highs on Wednesday in the lower 80s, maybe a stray shower or storm with those rain chances again dropping from a 70% chance on Tuesday to a 30% chance by your Wednesday. The rest of your 7-day forecast will keep chances of showers and storms Thursday and Friday. Then once the rain exits for everyone, it's going to get hot for your weekend. Highs back into the lower and middle 90s at lows at night, back in the mid 70s. We'll be right back.
Well, we are now hitting the 7-hour mark here at 11:30, and the water is still being poured on those Main Street buildings as you take a look. You know, it looks bad, and it really is bad for the return of the original Whiskey Row. Now, by that I mean the 100-year-old bricks, the mortar, the wood that housed whiskey barrels from great old companies called Old Kentucky Distillery, Thompson Straight Whiskey, Grabfelder and Company. And the people who walked past these buildings those many years ago, Pappy Van Winkle at age 20, and George Garvin Brown, the founder of Brown Forman. His building's going to be okay, and Old Foresters is going to be able to put its distillery project in. Their buildings were not damaged. The headline of the night, a 3-alarm fire first spotted at 4:35 p.m. Workers were in the building, a construction crew, restoration crew, up until 3 o'clock. The fire brought it under control at 7:20 p.m. tonight. The late news we got just a little while ago, the facades appear to be able to be saved. The project to restore these buildings for Whiskey Row will remain. They are not going to go off the table for now. Let's go back to you, Renee, live here from the scene as the fire continues to have small hot spots.
All right, thanks very much, Doug. Good news out there, no injuries, and it looks like the project to revitalize that area can continue to go on. And Jared,
a lot of hard work for those firefighters in that heat today.
Yes,
a little cooler tomorrow, chance of showers and storms for the middle of your week, and then turning hot again for the weekend.
All right, thanks so much, Jared, and thanks for joining us this evening. We'll have continuing coverage on our website throughout the night, WHAS11.com, of that fire at Whiskey Row.